His
Yeah.
design is great, and that's really all people need to make heinous content of him back in the Angel Fire days. Hey there, Toonami faithful, and welcome back aboard Toonami Absolution, where we talk about the shows that made us us and the shows that made you you. Once again, we are your hosts. My name is Alyx.
I'm Sam.
And I'm John. Yu Yu Hakusho, the movie Poltergeist Report, debuted in Japan April 9th, 1994.
Yes.
Yes, yes, it sure did. Um, I, you know, I, I haven't watched this movie in a long time. I forgot how different this voice cast is compared to the actual one, but there's a lot of interesting stuff about the distribution rights for this movie, and I know, John, you have some notes on that if you want to share.
Yeah, so this is not the voice cast you'll be familiar with if you watch this on Toonami. This is because this was acquired by US Manga, who are a division of Central Park Media, a company who dubbed a lot of anime, imported a lot of manga, ran a UFO truther site for many years. They got it, they dubbed it in 1998, so a couple of years before Funimation started. So it's an entirely new voice cast, of which only two people went on to do anything of note. Veronica Taylor and Eric Stewart is in this as well. But if you want to think of how this voice cast is, yeah, I couldn't find any other roles for half of the people involved.
Not even British EA.
Yep. Yeah, so Funimation had started Yu Yu Hakusho 2001, so this predates it. There's been a lot of debate why Funimation have never redubbed this. One argument is that they couldn't get the rights back, which I've never had proof of. I have my own personal theory, which is not making it up, but it's reasoned conjecture. Basically, remember the original Yu Yu Hakusho anime aired its final episode on April 1st, 2006. We know that at that point, Central Park Media still had the rights because they issued on VHS 98, DVD in 2001. Then in 2006, they reissued this DVD for the finale of the show. They made a big deal of it, but they literally had the advert say from the hit TV series Yu Yu Hakusho Ghost Files, and the DVD says, "You've seen the cartoon on Cartoon Network, now see the movie." Note the box never mentions Yu Yu Hakusho as the cartoon, but they always say it's based on the cartoon seen on Cartoon Network. So yeah, and they made a big deal. This DVD was going to only retail for $10, which at the time was, for a boutique release, cheap as chips. So I have the feeling that then Central Park Media go bust in 2009. Funimation's probably thought process was, are we going to spend 2 years and all this money redubbing a film that for a show that ended, 4 or 5 years ago and had that recent, very cheap DVD release? Are there enough kids who either missed that DVD or enough people who would had it but would buy it again because, Funimation's cast are back? And I don't think the maths for that one.
So that does technically kind of make it lost media, which is interesting because in my apartment, 2 copies of this DVD exist.
That's the thing. It's lost media, but Central Park Media, the re-release, they push it out like mad. They really went all on it. Like, I find copies of it in bins all the time. Even when I'm not looking, like if you go to like a random thrift store, you will probably find this in a bin.
Yeah. If Grandma knew that her kitties were into any anime, hey, this is only $10. This looks close enough.
I I hate that that's exactly how I got the DVD.
Yeah.
It was my grandma being like, "Alyx likes this," and
Yeah.
I liked it as a kid, and it's not bad. It's just not. It does it. You can tell Yoshihiro Togashi didn't have anything to do with this.
No, we were talking about this while I was in the middle of a typhoon or two, last and multiple earthquakes. But I like the way the movie looks. I like the kind of the more saturated color scheme. I like it really does feel like an anime movie of its era, which is to say, late 80s, early 90s. But particularly with this dub and just this very shallow plot, I mean, it really does feel like this is essentially Yu Yu Hakusho Gaiden.
Yeah, it's Studio Pierrot did all the animation, and you can tell. You can also tell it's very dark and very shadowy. But you can also tell they watched End of Evangelion because there's a lot of scenes of big pillars of light going up into the sky and weird light things going on. But yeah, this feels like the early Dragon Ball sort of Toei anime fair Dragon Ball movies, where it's just like we've got all of our characters, we're going to make a new villain for them to fight. This is a film I think you can very clearly tell the plot was written backwards because there are so many contrivances to make the plot work. So the two that really spring for me is some basic things. We introduce a new realm. It's called the Netherworld, run by King Yakumo. I quite like the idea. The idea is that originally they say there are 4 worlds. The human world has the spirit world as its counter, and the demon world has the Netherworld. But the Netherworld get a bit fighty, so they get banished into space and destroyed, as you do. And banished into space isn't a dubism. It is what it says in Japan. They didn't send them to somewhere else. They just went, to the moon with you. To the moon. And they come back. Okay, we'll take over the world. First thing they got to do is get 4 elemental sites to convert them to Netherworld energy. And these are like little dragon shrines that are apparently just littered around Tokyo for no reason. One of them is in an underground parking lot. So they built the parking lot around the site, I guess. And when Yusuke turns up, there's cars with their headlights pointed to it. It's like, and the cars don't move. It's like, okay, what? And then there's a bit later on where Netherworld puts a shield around part of the city, and like, how do we get through? And then Hiei knocks down a building, and they go, it's broken the shield. How does a building break a magical shield that you can walk through? It's like,
I'm starting to. I wasn't putting this together before, but the magical shield that you can walk through but gets broken by a building. I'm starting to think that Gege Akutami watched this movie a couple of times, because this is very similar to some stuff that happened in Jujutsu Kaisen during the Shibuya arc. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm starting to see a pattern here.
Well, my favorite bit is when they introduce the shield. His Kuwahara goes, how is no one noticing this? And then he's like, oh, they have a perception filter so no one will see what's going on. It's like, that's convenient.
That's Jujutsu Kaisen.
that's that conversation felt like because there were 3 writers for this film. Somehow this film took 3 people.
But none of them are Gege Akutami.
No, none of them are.
As far as we know.
He signed off on it, but he's a producer entirely. E.g., it's like, here is a check. Can you sign this contract? But that felt like a conversation the writers had for like, so why isn't Tokyo panicking about all of this? Perception filter. That'll do.
Yeah.
There is a goddamn hole in the middle of Shibuya. It's interesting too, because this movie also does kind of make a majority of the cast either look really cool for 5 minutes or just look terrible, because the only character that manages to secure their spot is Kurama. He's the only one who manages to do it at all.
Kurama gets the most interesting arc, I think, for me, of the core 4.
With Koronaway?
Yeah, because he gets his like buddy, but not really back. For the movie, who we don't know about in the show. This is something that's completely like movie specific, like, oh, this is my really good childhood friend that I never mentioned before, but here he is, and now it's going to completely change everything. Oh wait, it's not actually him, so none of this actually matters. Like, but I think Kurama gets the most interesting stuff to do, even as kind of forced into the narrative as it is.
Quick sidebar about Koronaway. For those of you who weren't alive during the Angel Fire era of websites, Koronaway threw a huge wrench into the Yu Yu Hakusho Western fandom for a bit. It's John laughing tells me that John knows something about this, and I need to know, because I witnessed it, so I need to know, John, what you're thinking.
Koronaway is one of those characters that the second I saw him, I had immediate flashbacks to. This is one of those characters that was everywhere. For, like, if you went to old anime cons, you would see pictures of him doing horrible things to fruits and vegetables.
Oh, and,
yeah. Which is great, because one of those things you'd see everywhere, and then you'd go and find out what he's from, and you realize, oh, he's non-canon. Oh, he's not even who he says he is. He's a totally unrelated frog dude.
Yeah, imposter. Yeah.
but his design is so good. His design is great, and that's really all people need to make heinous content of him back in the Angel Fire days.
We get to see a little flashback with him and Kurama, where Kurama is devious cat boy. Kurama has a different design in the flashback, but he has Neko arc from the fighting games. He has the Neko arc face.
Mm.
I was waiting for him to start nyanning at things.
Like Nyan. I also like that little flashback. I like these shots of Kurama's past life as Thief King Kurama. Like, I think that that's very fun, the few times we ever get to see that. But it is also a reminder that Kurama in general in the main story is like, Hiei is a relatively young demon. Kuwahara and Yusuke are teenagers. Kurama is a 500-year-old fox demon that definitely ate the soul of a baby to be in this body. Like, there's like a different level of escalation that we have to talk about with Kurama, and I don't think we talk about it enough.
No, I mean he's the core four guy that is the most shrouded in mystery. So I guess it makes him the more likely to have good childhood friend that we never talked about before, but here he is, but not really in this for the purposes of this film's story. Hiei comes off cool too, now that I think about it.
He gets a great fight. His fight is fantastic. I think it's the best fight.
Yeah.
He had to fight with a guy whose power is turning you evil through his eye. A guy whose name is never actually mentioned in the film itself, by the way. His name is Raigo. I did have to check that from the credits and work that out through process of elimination.
Oof.
Yeah, I love that because he's like, oh, I've turned Hiei evil, makes Hiei Black Dragon Wave, and Hiei fires the Black Dragon Wave, then pulls it away at the last moment and goes, ha! Like, I wasn't mind controlled at all. I just felt like doing this.
Yeah, it just felt like screwing people. We do also get to see Jigan Hiei again, which is the only other time we'll ever see it again. Because they wanted to draw it. Like, obviously, this is such an easy thing to draw.
It also, there's a lot of eyes. A lot of things in this film have extra eyes for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like just to kind of touch on the plot. I mean, we were talking about the addition of Netherworld and stuff. I mean, the inciting incident is the overflow of the river Styx, right? Like that's where they're all like, "Oh God!" Like this is
poor Botan.
Yeah, it's a heck of a start for this kind of story. Now that I think about it, it's just it's filler.
I do think Botan gets the shortest end of the stick in this narrative. Like she spends all of the actual show being useful and being a part of the action in some way, and this movie has her asleep. She's Holly Joestar in this particular movie. Like she's suffering from the stand.
Yeah, because they're basically so Botan. One thing to start off with is Botan, not Botan. Koenma in this is a normal dude. His voice. He is not a baby at all, despite still looking. It's one of the worst choices because, like, I don't see how if you're voice casting this, you see that character and don't go, well, obviously he's going to talk in a high pitched child voice. That even if you haven't seen the original, that's what you do. That's the joke. It's so clear. But yeah, he gives Botan the orb of power, the Netherworld to protect, and Botan at some point inserts it into herself,
eats it.
Yeah, I guess goes yummy, and that knocks her out. And it's really weird because we never see her do that or really explain why she decides to shove the orb inside herself, because it's never like... Because you're right, she's unconscious. I thought it would be cool if she was, up for a while, and then the guy sort of corners her. He's like, well, haha, I'm going to eat it. Now what are you going to do? Okay, I'm going to kidnap you now then. And it would have given her some risk, but also I want to bring up the overflow of the Styx. We never see the resolution of that plotline. Like, after the guy dies, Yusuke goes, is Spirit World safe? And then some light comes down, heals everybody, and we're like, okay, that must be Koenma. So is it maybe go check? Like, maybe we can't show the intro scene in reverse, maybe?
or a scene of Koenma just being like, everything's better now.
Or like a panning shot of the river Styx receding, like just something,
Just a picture of Koenma with his thumb up, like, hey!
Yeah. Someone like, you did it! Or like the end of Evangelion, or like the end of the first Evangelion. Congratulations!
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight that because I was like, that's our inciting incident, but that's all it is.
Never resolved.
I just kind of realised I don't think we ever actually come down and say that was the Netherworld doing, do we? I don't think they ever. I don't think they do.
I think they're just like, yo, the river Styx is overflowing, and they're like, oh, shh.
Yeah.
When the Netherworld King comes back, he says he's come back because he was able to absorb souls sent into space. So Neil Armstrong apparently is very evil in the Yu Yu Hakusho universe because he had enough spiritual power to resurrect this king.
I mean, it's either him or Michael Collins.
Or Leica.
He was in the pod the entire time, cackling.
Yeah, my money's on it. What's the name of that monkey that Russia sent into space?
Oh,
I can't remember all the animals Russia killed sending them into space.
Yeah, I just know Cosmo because of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Cosmo was the real evil all along.
I do love the idea of that guy fighting in space, like, oh, they've sent me another dead dog.
Yeah, delicious.
Excellent. My power is coming from all these dead Russian dogs.
I will say, like, being in Tokyo when I was watching this, it did convince me to go out and buy the first two Yu Yu Hakusho games on the Super Famicom.
One of
Fun
those for like
fact about
300 yen.
Yeah, no, they weren't expensive. I think there was 4 Yu Yu Hakusho games in all for the Famicom, that Super Famicom that I don't think got here because why would we have gotten Yu Yu Hakusho games in 1993 or whatever? The first game is a action RPG, and the second game is I think the last 3 are all fighting games. I think they all lean into that.
I had the one that was for the Game Boy Advance that was basically Legacy of Goku, but for Yu Yu Hakusho, and that was pretty fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Yu Yu Hakusho is surprisingly prolific. I think there are more Yu Yu Hakusho Super Famicom games than there are JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. But now that I say that out loud, JoJo in the early to mid 90s probably wasn't as big of a presence quite then. I mean, yeah.
JoJo had arcade games as well.
Which part of JoJo was coming out in the 90s? Like,
it would have been Stardust.
Would it have been Stardust?
Because the OVA already had, all that stuff.
Yeah, because that's what the CPS 3 game is, Stardust Crusaders. Or JoJo, or Joe's Venture, as it was called in Europe.
Yeah.
They called it Joe's.
I don't think we get Diamond is Unbreakable until the end of the 90s.
No, Diamond is Unbreakable is 92 to 95.
Shit.
Golden
I'm wrong.
95 to 99. So Stardust Crusaders is only 89. Stardust Crusaders only took 3 years?
He was, Araki was in his bag. He was right there in his element.
Because Phantom Blood and Battle Tendency only took 1 year each.
Well, because he didn't have the Louvre coming to his house every week being like, come, put all your work here.
Yeah. Please don't make Thuspoke Rohan part of the JoJo universe. It's gonna be fun.
It looks like just sidebar on one more JoJo thing. It looks like JoJo Lion took the longest at 10 years long to get through JoJo Lion, which is part 8.
Yeah, he's getting distracted by everything else.
Yeah, I did go to the JoJo World in Shibuya. I did go to the retail store.
I'm so jealous of you right now. I'm genuinely very jealous.
Yeah, I might have bought a Joseph Joestar figure while I was there.
Life size.
And you picked my favorite JoJo, you son of a bitch.
I already have a Jotaro and Josuke figure. I need to get all the Joes, so I need to get, but Geo will be last.
Geo's great. Okay,
he has a side character in his own story. Let's
back to the movie.
Yes. Can we tackle the elephant in the room, and that is this dub being one of the most wooden things I've ever seen.
It's terrible. That's why I'm more willing to talk about JoJo. Yeah, but no, especially like Kuwahara, it's not great.
Especially when you compare
you mean Kuwahara?
Kuwahara, first of all. But yeah, when you compare it to the original, to the Funimation dub of Yu Yu Hakusho, which is literally one of the best English dubs out there, this is crazy bad.
Yeah, this is really wooden. I've watched this film twice, and both times I had problems telling who was speaking at certain points, because all of the main 4 sound so very similar, and it has the problem that all the AB Group Dragon Ball stuff has is I don't know what it is, but that no one can scream or do action sounds. So all the action sounds is like huh, 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 and everyone sounds very bored. I think one thing I find really interesting with this film is it's a great example of the translation versus localization debate, because this film is a very accurate translation of the Japanese dialogue.
But it is
but
localized.
it isn't localized, so you end up with a lot of sentences that are technically right, but not how anyone would say them in English. A big thing, it was bugging me for like the first 3 quarters. I noticed it. No one uses contractions,
Yeah.
so you
Oh.
always hear Yusuke saying "it is" and "that is" rather than "that's" and "it's," and it makes the dialogue sound really, really weird.
You know, it makes you think that the Central Park media people were just going outside into Central Park and being like, "Hey, you want $50 in lunch today? We're gonna give you $50 in lunch today if you voice this movie."
Yeah.
And you know, at the time, $50 in lunch could get you pretty far in New York.
It's
Buy a house.
it's more than Ron Perlman got for Fallout, but the
It is more than Ron Perlman got for Fallout. He
the
got $20.
I mean, yeah, I guess in that way they are all kind of talking like data, right? If they're not using contractions.
Well,
I didn't notice that now that I think about it, but yeah, now that you mention it, it's like, yeah, I guess they are very mechanical in their delivery.
I have 2 examples from this film that I think are the best ones, and that is very early on when Yusuke is talking when he finds Botan unconscious. He says, "Please take Botan from me and take her to Genkai's temple," which is correct, but no English speaker would have that as 2 clauses. They would just say, "Please take Botan and take her to Genkai's temple," because you wouldn't have the "from me," because that's clearly implied by the fact I'm holding her and you're stood in front of me. And the other one is, and when they all panic, Yusuke goes, "And then there will be nothing any of us will be able to do." Which, again, right, but any English speaker would say, "And we won't be able to do anything about it," or "We won't be able to do anything," or "We're helpless." So there's a lot of like sentences here that are just not right, and they especially don't make sense for Yusuke and Kuwahara, who are these street thugs.
Like it's so we don't talk about this enough, I don't think, but the job of localizers is a lot more difficult and a lot more intense than I think a lot of people realize, because most people would look at it and be like, "Oh, well, it's just trying to make it sound natural." It's like, no, there's so much to understand about the context of both languages. And I'm going to be very real with everyone. English is not an easy language. It is a language with a lot of implication. It is a lot of things that don't make sense versus reading versus speaking. And this is a good example of why you need good localizers, because they clearly did not have one.
Yeah, I mean, even just the idea of like idioms and expressions that wouldn't necessarily carry over here. And there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of our stuff that doesn't carry over to other cultures. There's a lot of stuff in Japanese culture that wouldn't necessarily carry over, but they're like, nope, we're going to slavishly translate this, and that's what you're going to get, and you're going to enjoy it.
I mean, you know, read rhymes with lead, but read doesn't rhyme with lead, but lead rhymes with red, but lead doesn't rhyme with read, you know? Like that's the insanity of and all those words are spelled the same way. So the insanity of the English language.
And there's also like little bits, and like in this, characters say each other's names too often, which you wouldn't do in American speech, especially if you are a street thug. Like we've joked before about certain Dragon Ball dubs will replace honorifics with Mister, and it sounds weird having Gohan like Trunks saying Mr. Vegeta or Mr. Goku.
Yeah,
It's here. It's Yusuke repeatedly saying. There's like one sentence where he's talking about, oh no, it's our new Hinegeshi, our new Shrine Maiden, has a sense about Botan where she's like saying, "Oh, I've got to save Botan." She says Botan's name 4 or 5 times, which that is how you would phrase that in Japanese, but in English, no one would say that name. You won't say the person's name 5 times. That would just be in English, that comes across as almost manipulative, not respectful. Like the kind of like when the teacher says your full name kind of deal.
So not to get all linguistic up in here, but the biggest issue when it comes to Japanese translations is the difference between a high context language and a low context language. English is a low context language, meaning that you don't really need a lot of context to understand what is being said, which is why we can do things by not saying a person's name multiple times. Japanese, on the other hand, is an extremely high context language. So you need the context of the person's name being said in order to inform which particles and which participles you're using as a result of the rest of the language, which is why this gets so confusing when you do these translations.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like repeating Botan's name that many times in that example is almost like, it's like hearing "Hi, I'm Daisy" on repeat when you're playing Mario Kart.
You would also
Psychological warfare.
Yes.
You would also hear it from early English speakers. You would hear like little kids tend to speak in that kind of way, or people who are or ESL learners tend to speak in that way if they come from high context languages to moving to a low context language. So it sounds unnatural to the ear in a way that is actually very distracting.
Yeah, and there's also just like a little bit interior when you have characters like I said, having Yusuke and Kuwabara speak the same way that Kurama speaks
Yeah.
just doesn't work. They're so hearing Kuwabara be formal is a trip because Kuwabara shouldn't even be literate, let alone. I think also a big thing is you can tell these aren't anime voice actors because my favorite on this whole thing is Kurama when he's fighting his friend who is not his friend goes, "Don't do this, Rose Whip," because clearly the voice actor doesn't kind of know what an attack call is, which obviously an anime voice actor now would be familiar with the genre to know. Okay, that's got to be a big focus moment. Here it gets pushed over like he's sneezing. It does sound like. Yeah, and there's all sorts of like a little bit like so again, it's the attack noises, the spirit sort of noise when they're doing spirit gun and stuff just don't sound right because I think a lot of these actors, because they are, I think, just jobbing actors, don't fully get the medium and understand why those are important. That's not just me going, "Oh, I'm in pain." It's it's kabuki theater. You've got to make a big deal of these actions to make them make sense.
Yeah.
It's so weird because I remember I feel like I remember this movie differently from being a kid, but I was also a child. So like that makes it a little harder, you know?
Yeah, I need to watch this in Japanese, I think. I need to, at least. So at least I can't be like, well, the voice acting sucks.
I will defend you a little bit here, Alex, and say that the reviews for this film were glowing. This film
Really?
in all English media got glowing reviews. Only sort of in the last, I guess, after the Funimation one ended, that people started to sour on it. Like at the time, it was getting B's and C's from sort of Animerica and all the big popular anime magazines were rating it highly. I think it really is a thing in sort of 2001 when this first issue, well, 98 on VHS, but DVD 2001, how low the bar was. Like, this isn't Ghazi's Wing. And for that, it deserves to be, and for that is A plus quality in 1998.
So I have to ask, what is better, this dub or the 4Kids dub of Yu-Gi-Oh?
I think I would rather listen to the 4Kids dub of Yu-Gi-Oh because at least I have a foundational link to that. I'm used to that to a degree.
Yeah, I kind of also, the 4Kids stuff from Yu-Gi-Oh! Is at least funny. I think Yu-Gi-Oh! Operates on a level of so much utter stupidity that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is so far connected from real human interactions that it can't. Well, because like the thing I like about Yu Yu Hakusho in the Funimation dub the series is the conversation is kind of grounded. It obviously it's got the spirit world stuff, which isn't realistic, but Yusuke and Kuwabara talk like normal-ish human beings. No one in the real world is shouting "Pot of Greed," so
Hey,
I can kind of look past it more.
But do we have any thoughts before our final thoughts?
Thoughts before final thoughts. Yeah, this
Anything
movie.
you want to tackle
I guess
before
yeah, with that comparison, this movie just needed Seto Kaiba, and then it would have been all better.
Everything needs Seto Kaiba. You know that.
I do have one point, and it bugged me both times I watched it. We have one of the many villains we introduce here, whose name Majari, who's very cute. Well, it looks like a girl, but it's actually a boy, as is tradition. Has the power to copy your techniques, and she copies Kuwabara's spirit sword and goes, "Haha! Now I know your move." Like, really? Because she's like, "I'm really old. Like, you've never considered turning spirit energy into long knife. That's never." And then Kuwabara does his plan's like, "I'm going to make you fire off all your energies, I'm just going to punch you in the face." So he does this, like, "Aha! Now I've learned your techniques." Like, again, you've never considered just massive laser beam? What have you been doing in space? Like,
Hey,
Princess Serenity was up there and learned how to stop damn time. You can learn Spirit Sword.
hey, listen, it's hard to learn how to shoot laser and to give sword in this universe, apparently. This isn't Dragon Ball. Like, not everybody's firing off Kamehamehas when they want to.
Even Kuwabara could do it.
Hey, I'm just saying. I've never seen Krillin make a spirit sword. Just throwing it out there. Just throwing it out there. But yeah, final thoughts, my friends.
I like the look of it. I like the I really my big final thought is I really want to see it in Japanese so I can be like, well, at least I can see it as it was originally intended and with a more consistent voice cast. Yeah, overall I like it. Just the look of it, but but it really is just a side story. Like, and it's like John made the comparison earlier. It really is like a weaker DBZ movie.
Yeah, it's classic shonen movie adaptation, shonen jump movie adaptation. It's all nonsense. It's all written. It's following a format where every character has to have a fight, and then we have scenes to try and justify why we're having those fights. It makes no sense, but it looks pretty. It's fun. Watch it in Japanese, and it is a perfectly acceptable shonen jump evening. Not gonna change your opinion of cinema, but yeah, you'll have a good enough time with it. I would recommend watching the English dub if you are young, because I think it is such a product of a very specific era. And if you've ever wondered why old people talk about dubs the way they do, it's because of this. This used to be, again, an America who were respected at the time looked at this and went, "This is high quality dubbing. This is really good." And yeah, this is why it's not a good film in English, but it is an interesting film if you are interested to see how dubbing has changed and how ropey things used to be.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo John's point on that. If you are young enough to not remember the initial dubs of like Naruto or One Piece, then yeah, like this is a good place to look at like how dubbing has changed and how it's become a much bigger thing. I still like a lot of parts of this movie. The dub is just really, it is rough. I'm not gonna lie and say that it's not. But yeah, it's a standard shonen anime movie. I like to think of this as an AMV movie, meaning that it's going to get clipped for 1 million AMVs. And it was. It got. I judge my movies on how well they're set to Linkin Park. And if you can set it to at least something from the Meteora or Hybrid Theory soundtracks, then it's done what it needs to do, right? You could easily set this to something from Meteora. I bet you right now that there's at least one like or at least one 3 days grace animal I have become with this movie. I'm willing to put that money on the table right now. Put it in the comments if you found it. But that does mean that it is time for us to disembark from Toonami Absolution. That is right. We have pulled into our final destination. We want to thank you once again in joining us and talking about the shows that made us us and the shows that made you you. We have been your hosts. My name is Alyx.
I'm Sam.
And I'm John.
And we'll see you next time.